Hello again and welcome to another Mordy and Glory video. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, a little spicy, maybe even controversial, but I'm going to be responding to a video that was put out by another hobby content creator, Guy and Hattie of Midwinter Minis. For those of you that don't know, Midwinter Minis are a pretty big YouTube channel and they mostly cover hobbying and painting, although they do the occasional battle report. Often they focus on Warhammer 40k content, but recently they've been stretching their wings and taking a look at some other game systems. And I was really excited because they were going to start covering some bolt action stuff. Now, whilst I am primarily a 40k kind of guy, I do love me some bolt action. And so when this week Midwinter Minis dropped their first bolt action video, I was pretty stoked for it and I eagerly went and watched it. And it's this video that I want to respond to because unfortunately, rather than focusing on painting the models and talking about what it's like painting something that's a little bit more realistic, not just the bright colors, there was a little bit of that. The majority of the video essentially focused on why you should feel bad for playing historical war games. They made a few cover your ass statements throughout the video, trying to be like, oh, we're not painting everyone with the same brush, or this is just asking the question why historical war games aren't as popular. But when you start your video with this,
it's all fun and games until someone has to be the Nazis.
Yeah. Seriously, that was the introduction to their video on bolt action. That is the tone they're setting for this new game that they're going to be covering on their channel. Not exactly a good start. Now, before we go any further, I just want to make something abundantly clear, because when you make these kind of videos, sometimes people can take them the wrong way. This is not a personal attack on Guy, Hattie, or anyone in the Midwinter Minis team or community. I'm a long-time subscriber. I love a lot of the content these guys put out. Their old school retro unboxing and paint videos are fantastic. Frankly, in my opinion, some of the best hobbying content you can get out there. My issue is purely with this one video. All right, so put the pitchforks away. But with all of that said, now let's get into my issues with the video itself. The big thing for me was it felt like they were making you feel bad for enjoying historical or World War II games. They had this whole part where they were like, we wonder why historical games are as popular. Maybe it's to do with the fact that you can play as the Nazis. Oh, please don't make me play as the Nazis. And there's a whole bit where they were like, well, you know, if someone wanted to play as one of those factions, what does that really say about them? I mean, we're not trying to tar everyone with the same brush, but maybe some people would take it too far. And it just felt really weird. I mean, this is the first video that they're doing on a new game system. And it's like they're already trying to like gaslight the community. If you're new to a game community, if you're new to a certain system, the kind of approach you should have is twofold. Firstly, you should just be excited and be happy. You're playing a new game. This is the honeymoon period. Everything should be weird and wonderful and wacky and amazing. Everything should be fresh and awesome because you're never going to get that feeling back of enjoying something for the first time. So you should be encouraging people to have that feeling. And as a content creator, it kind of feels like that is the spirit you want to capture. That's the lightning you want to get into the bottle. And the other thing you should have in mind is respect. You're coming into a new place. You don't necessarily know everything about that place. There is, in my mind, very little difference between virtually online entering a new community or doing it in person. And if you wouldn't do it in person, if you wouldn't act a certain way in real life, why do you think it's okay to do that in an online space? You wouldn't go into your local Warhammer club or go into your local bolt action club, for example, and start going around to all the different tables and going, oh, you play Germans, do you? Ooh, I wonder why you play the Germans. That says something about you, doesn't it? And that was the really strong vibe that the video was giving off from top to bottom. And before anyone says, oh, it was just about them painting a Sherman and a Panzer IV. By the way, love the paint schemes that they did. Really cool. But when the video is called The Big Problem with Playing Historical Games, and when the thumbnail says, don't make me play as the Nazis, and when you've got that opening statement and constantly throughout the video, this is kind of the topic of discussion, and the actual painting itself is really happening in the background. It's almost like the thing that you can watch to keep your eyes entertained whilst you're listening to what they're talking about. They do at points stop and go, oh look, this was interesting. It was kind of different painting a historical model. There was less garish colors. So there is some hobbying stuff in there, but the overwhelming message that was being sent to me as the viewer was historical war games are bad and you should feel bad. Do you know what it reminded me of? That old extra credits video where they were talking about playing video games and how, bam, suddenly you're a Nazi. You didn't want this. You didn't choose this, but here it is. And now you're fighting for a regime that is pure evil. That video was ridiculous and it got lambasted back to the Stone Age. Rightly so. But it's kind of annoying to see that kind of video game stupid argument starting to filter into tabletop games. Oh, if you play a Nazi in a tabletop game, it means you want to be a Nazi in real life. If you kill people in a tabletop game, it's going to make you violent in real life. It's just kind of bullshit and boomery, and it's really disappointing to see it come from a high-level channel like Midwinter Minis. They've got 400,000 subscribers. They're massive. And I guess that's one of the big issues I've got with it. It comes across as really, really uninformed and ignorant. If I'm going to be honest, the video felt like it was being deliberately controversial, like they were trying to stoke up some fire around the topic so that it would get more attention. Saying Nazis are bad is not a particularly hard take to make. I think we can all agree Nazis are pretty fucking awful. But then linking it to, oh, well, if you play as them, does that make you a Nazi? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, judgy eyes, judgy eyes. Well, obviously, that's going to get a much stronger reaction. Hell, it's got a reaction out of me. I'm making this video. And for all I know, that was the intention behind the content they were making. But if that was the case, it just feels a little bit underhanded and it leaves a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And if I can be brutally honest for a moment, and I don't want to step over a line here, but when you're making a video like this and you're talking about a topic which is probably kind of sensitive and you're making this insinuation of, well, if you play Nazi, does that mean you want to be a Nazi and that whole vibe? It comes across as a little dishonest and a lot hypocritical if in the middle of your video you have an advert which is several minutes long talking about World of Warships, a World War II game where you can play as the Axis or you can play as the Allies. Now, there are loads of other points that could be made around this video. For example, why did they only talk about the Nazis? There are loads of other bad shit that people did, such as the Japanese and the Soviets and all this kind of other stuff. Of course. But if we start getting bogged down into the nitty-gritty detail, I'm worried it's going to start coming across as a bit petty and that kind of stuff. And that's not really what I'm going for here. I also want to acknowledge the fact that my arguments here clearly could have a lot of flaws. It is just like my opinion, like I said, but just because my opinion doesn't mean you can't disagree with me. Feel free to put your own thoughts down in that comment section. Let me know if you agree or disagree. That's absolutely fine. I also want to say I don't want anyone going out there and being disrespectful towards Midwinter Minis, Hattie, Guy, the whole team. Like, they do a fantastic job. I also don't want you to think that this is like a call to arms, like cancel them or anything like that. No, not at all. Don't be silly, guys. This is simply me as a bolt action person who enjoys the game, just saying I didn't like the vibe they were putting out with that content. And if by some miracle someone from Midwinter Minis sees this, I hope they understand that this isn't a personal attack. I hope they understand this is done with almost like respect, because I want to see them make bolt action content. I want them to do more stuff like that, paint more tanks, more units. I want to follow their painting guides. I love what they do, but I just want it to kind of be about the painting. I just want you guys to focus on the models and the hobbying side. So that's what I love about your channel. That's the focus. And I love the quirky humor and all that kind of good stuff, 100%. So this is literally just one man's opinion. I don't speak for anyone else. Just saying, Guy, Hattie, whole team, love the content, love the channel, but for me personally, this video was a misstep, and I hope in the future that you are going to make more bolt action stuff, and if you do, you kind of just keep it focused on the modeling and the painting, because that's really what I love about your channel. But that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. This one was a bit spur of the moment, unscripted, so if it's rough around the edges, I do apologize, but I hope you still got a kick out of it. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to never miss an episode. And if you want to go the extra mile and support the channel, please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon. And I want to say a massive thank you just before we go to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are the lifeblood of the Mordy and Glory channel. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.